this is Awdi with YuGiOh Collectibles, and today I'm back with another structure deck video. And today I've got 3 structure deck freezing chains. Now this is the newest structure deck that has come out, and they come out with some pretty cool support for the ice barrier monsters that were, I believe, only previously available through like hidden arsenal packs and things like that. So I'm a little excited to see what we've got in store here and what I can make happen with this. So as we can see on the bag here, the return of Trishula. So let's go ahead and crack one of these open. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra deck monsters. That's something that I've been liking about a lot of these newer structure decks, is they're coming with a lot more extra deck monsters. All right, and then as always, right on top here, we've got our playmat that comes with some cool artwork. Wow. These colors are absolutely amazing. And then of course, we've got the actual deck here, got a little promotional. All right, so let's go ahead and get this open. So right off the bat, we can see one of the new cards, Revealer of the Ice Barrier. Let's see, where does this start? I actually didn't know that this little strip here that I'm about to open up existed on these. I was so used to some of the older decks and stuff like that. I've been out of Yu-Gi-Oh for maybe a few years now, or a couple years at least. I think I got out of it right as they started doing Link monsters. So I remember I bought 3 of that first Link deck that came with Decode Talker and the Link Spider, stuff like that. But of course, on the back we've got our promotionals, structure deck freezing chains. You can pick up the Blazing Vortex too, Legacy of the Duelist, Link Evolution. This game is pretty fun. Maybe Noel and I will have to upload some videos of this. And then of course, Duel Links. Been around for a minute now. Let's get into the deck. So first, we've got Revealer of the Ice Barrier, Speaker for the Ice Barriers, Zujin of the Ice Barriers, Winds over the Ice Barrier, and this is the new synchro. So this is Trishula, Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. And his effect is when this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. If this synchro summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3,300. Wow. Then have the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls also negate their effects. You can only use this effect of Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier once per turn. So that is pretty cool. Banishing 3 cards and then giving your Trishula a buff at that. And then we've got Dwarlin, Tiger King of the Ice Barrier, Bryanak, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and of course, Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. So I think that wraps it up for all the hollows of this deck. Let's go ahead and round these up. Try not to mess these all up. All right, so now we've got General Wayne of the Ice Barrier, Hexa Spirit of the Ice Barrier, Blizzard Defender of the Ice Barrier, Cryomancer of the Ice Barrier, Prior of the Ice Barrier, Defender of the Ice Barrier, Warlock of the Ice Barrier, Spellbreaker of the Ice Barrier, Strategist of the Ice Barrier, Dance Princess of the Ice Barrier, Sojo of the Ice Barrier, General Raiho of the Ice Barrier, Medium of the Ice Barrier, General Gantala of the Ice Barrier, General Grunyard of the Ice Barrier, and I think that does it for our Ice Barrier monsters. So now we've got Genix Controller, Genix Undying, Aqua Spirit, Dupe Frog, Ronin Totem, that's a funny name, Fishborg Launcher, Maulinglacia, the Elemental Lord, Silent Angler. And that does it for our monsters. So now we've got Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier, Magic Triangle of the Ice Barrier, Medallion of the Ice Barrier, Mirror of the Ice Barrier, Salvage, Surface, Where Art Thou? And now we've got a Pointer of the Red Lotus, Fiendish Chain, ooh, Icebomb, Mind Drain, Heavy Storm Duster, Crackdown, and Terror of Trishula. So that'll do it for the deck. I'm going to go ahead and now cut to my organizing of the cards. I'll see you guys in a minute. Alright, so here I've got all three of my structure decks all opened up. So let's go ahead and get to organizing this.
Oh man, does anyone else have like a weird OCD where like this just makes them like this makes me feel so good that like all these Ice Barrier monsters just line up perfectly in these rows and perfect rows of 3. Maybe it's just me.
Alright, now that my OCD is satisfied, let's go ahead and move on to the deck building portion of this. I'll cut when I'm done with my decisions and I'll be back. Alright, so I've looked over all the cards, read their effects, and this is going to be my initial choice here for my Freezing Chains $30 deck. So let's go ahead and get right into this. So I'm going to be starting with our Ice Barrier monsters here. I'm playing 3, Revealer of the Ice Barrier. She's our main combo starter of the deck, so I mean, I felt like this was absolutely necessary to play 3 of her. Next, I've got 3 Speaker for the Ice Barriers. Special summons herself if there's an Ice Barrier monster on the field, and then from the graveyard you can banish to get a token, which could be nice for some of the synchro summons in here. Next, I've got 3 Zuijin of the Ice Barrier, And I play 3 of this mainly for his effect. You can tribute this card, special summon 1 level 5 or higher ice barrier monster from your hand. And so I'll get to my level 5 and higher later, but he is absolutely a lot of fun to play. So next I've got 3 General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. Spells and traps sent from the field to your opponent's graveyard are banished instead, so that's nice for some of the back row heavy deck profiles. And then you can only use each of the following effects of General Wayne of the Ice Barrier once per turn. If your opponent controls a monster and you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it seems kind of at first like I was a little hesitant because he's a level 5, but with that effect, it's pretty easy to get him out on the field. Nice 2100 beater, and then good secondary effect of the spells and traps going to the banished. So next I've got 3 Hexa, Spirit of the Ice Barrier, and he's the tuner for the deck, and he can send an Ice Barrier monster level 3 or lower from the deck to the graveyard and then copy its level. So this is nice for kind of some versatility for if you don't quite have the levels for Synchro Summon and you can get this off of Revealer, then you can kind of use him to compensate for your lack of maybe a couple levels to get out what you need. Next, I've got 2 Prior of the Ice Barrier. His first effect is kind of iffy, but his second effect, so his first effect is if you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Cannot special summon any level 5 or higher monsters this turn you summon this way. So that's kind of the crappy effect, but his second effect is you can tribute this card, then target 1 Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard, except Prior of the Ice Barrier, and special summon that target. So typically you don't want to special summon him with his own effect. You can, I mean, he's a level 2, you can normal summon, tribute him, or get him out on the field with a different card. So next I've got 2 Defender of the Ice Barrier. Nice level 3 tuner, so while you control another Ice Barrier monsters your opponent controls cannot declare an attack if their attack is greater than or equal to this card's defense. So I was thinking about moving this down to 1 just because he doesn't see a whole lot of action. I've used him a couple times to pitch him and turn Hexa into a level 3 tuner, so I don't know, maybe it just takes more play. Next, for my last normal summon, we've got Strategist of the Ice Barrier. So once per turn, you can send 1 Ice Barrier monster from your hand to the graveyard and draw 1. So he's kind of nice for, you can cycle out a card that you don't need and then hopefully draw into one that you do need. So these are going to be my level 5 and higher Ice Barriers. So I'm playing 1 Medium of the Ice Barrier. She's really nice. If your opponent controls 4 more cards than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap card each turn. So that can really shut down some of the back row heavy decks. Next, I've got General Grunyard of the Ice Barrier. So during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Ice Barrier monster in addition to your normal summon set. And you can only gain that effect once per turn. So this is really nice for if you absolutely need to normal something to get a combo going, and then you're still kind of short on some levels for synchros or something like that, you can get another normal with an Ice Barrier from him. And it's relatively easy to get some of these onto the field with Zuijin. So Zuijin can tribute himself and then summon any of these. So next I've got General YuGiOh of the Ice Barrier. So when your opponent's monster effect activated on the field resolved, they must discard 1 card or the effect is negated. So they can either choose to activate their effect and discard 1 card from their hand, or they just don't get to pop the effect. And lastly, I've got YuGiOh of the Ice Barrier. So if this card is normal flip summon, change it to defense position. Ice Barrier monsters you control cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects. So this is a nice, just to kind of help protect your monsters a little bit. And then I've got 2 more monsters. So Silent Angler, he's the only non-ice barrier monster in here, and if you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you cannot special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn. So if you do end up special summoning this, you want to special summon it after you're done summoning all your other monsters. And then he's just a nice level 4 for some synchros. Alright, so moving on to the spells. I'm playing 3 Winds over the Ice Barrier. And so you can tribute any number of Ice Barrier monsters, special summon from your deck, that many level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monsters with different names from each other. So during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one of your Ice Barrier monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, and add it to your hand. And you can only use this effect of this card once per turn. So this is nice for recycling some of our cards, and then maybe, you know, we have some cards that we don't really need, so we cycle those out, get the cards that we do need, and make some synchros. Next, I've got 3 Medallion of the Ice Barrier. Add 1 Ice Barrier monster from your deck to your hand. I mean, this is one of the best cards in here. This just gets you any Ice Barrier that you need. Typically, seeing this in your opening hand is really nice because you can just get the combo piece that you don't have, add it to your hand, and then you get your combo started. So to round off the spells, I'm playing 1 Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. When this card is activated, you can target 1 level 4 lower Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard, special summon it. While you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters you control are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. You can only activate 1 Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier per turn. So I was thinking about maybe bringing this to 2, but I don't really see a reason to play this at 3 at all. I feel like this would get kind of cloggy in the hand. So lastly, I've got traps, so I'm going to be playing 3 Fiendish Chain. Kind of self-explanatory with these. Kind of disrupt your opponent, shut down some other monsters that they might have, and stop some of their effects. And I've got 2 Crackdown. Activate by targeting 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of that monster. While you control that monster, it cannot attack or activate effects. So when that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. So this can kind of, again, a little bit of disruption. And lastly, I'm playing 2 Terror of Trishula. So apply these effects in sequence depending on the number of Ice Barrier synchro monsters you control. So if you have 1 or more, banish 1 card your opponent controls. 2 or more, banish 1 card from your opponent's graveyard, and then 3 or more, banish 1 random card from your opponent's hand. So if you have 3 synchro monsters on the field, you basically get to pop another Trishula's effect, therefore Terror of Trishula. So when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets an Ice Barrier synchro monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate that effect. So this kind of has a graveyard effect to protect your monsters as well. So next, moving on to the extra deck, we'll be going kind of up in levels. So I'll be playing 3 Whirlin, King of the Ice Barrier. Now with the new ban list, he moved to unlimited because of his errated effect, getting to once per turn. So you can target any number of other face-up cards you control, return those targets to the hand, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card returned to the hand by this effect until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of DeLorean Tiger, King of the Ice Barrier, once per turn. So he can be a nice little last-ditch OTK maybe. So next, I've got 3 Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. You can discard any number of cards to the graveyard, then target the same number of cards your opponent controls. Return those cards to the hand. You can only use this effect of Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, once per turn. So he's good for popping stuff back to the hand, and again, a little bit of disruption. So next, I've got 3 Gungear, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. So once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards to the graveyard, then target the same number of cards your opponent controls. Destroy them. So this can be nice for a little bit of board wiping. And next, at 1, again, because of the ban list, so Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Banishes one card from field, hand, and graveyard, and then the hand is at random. And then lastly, we've got the new synchro here, Trishula, 0 Dragon of the Ice Barrier. And I mean, with all the combos from these cards in here, between like Revealer and Hexa and stuff like that, getting out even this card here is a breeze sometimes. So when this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. If this synchro summon card in its owner's hand or owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3,300, then half the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. Also, negate their effects. So you can only use this effect of Trishula 0 Dragon of the Ice Barrier once per turn. Now, something to keep in mind is if you special summon Trishula, this way he doesn't get his effect pop because he's not synchro summoned, he's special summoned. So, but either way, he gets buffed up to 3,300 and he can deal some serious damage. So you guys have it. This is my 3 Freezing Chain structure deck profile. Just like always, if you guys have any suggestions on anything I can do to make this deck a little better, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you would do differently, and leave a comment with one of your favorite new Ice Barrier monsters. So I mean, obviously I'm liking 0 Dragon of the Ice Barrier, but I honestly really like the art of YuGiOh of the Ice Barrier. I think that's a really cool art. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. So next I will be tackling the Mechanized Madness structure deck. So tune in for the next one, and I'll be tackling this next. All right, peace.